profits of $4 billion during the past 3 years. And isn't that enough? No. The company's collective bargaining offer in July was about corporate greed and a race to the bottom.
They'll take as much as they can and leave back as little as they have to. Our share doesn't matter to them. It's what you bring out of the ground that they want to take advantage of. But the establishment of what the ground you break on the surface is more important today, my friends. And I'm here to say on behalf of everybody, thank you very much for your determination and resolve. Now, I can't tell Vale Inco very well how I feel about them in English. I can't tell them very well in French, but I can in Italian.
This company came into Canada under the Canada Investment Act and said, we will commit to the following principles if you let us buy your natural resources, if you let us buy Inco. And one of those commitments was there'd be no job losses, no layoffs. Within 2 years of that deal, and they made that commitment for 3 years, and within 2 years of that deal, hundreds and hundreds of steel workers are thrown out in the street. And we turned to Tony Clement, the industry minister, and said, what are you going to do about that? They violated their conditions. Take them to court. Tony Clement says, well, you know, he has done absolutely nothing. U.S. Steel and Nanticoke locked our sisters and brothers out on August the 1st. And they also broke their commitments to the Canada Investment Act and to Canadians. And our government is taking them to court, but they're not taking Vale Inco to court, and you gotta figure this collusion. That there's money being passed under the table. It's time the Canadian government stood up for Canada. It's time the Canadian government stood up for workers and their families. And it's time the Canadian government stood up for our communities. And if we're not gonna step up and help Canadians, if we're not gonna help our country, then you ought to do the right thing and step down from office and let somebody in there who will protect Canadian jobs, and not allow this bullshit to take place.
They say cut back! We say fight back! They say cut back! We say fight back!
Away we go 15 hours on a bus. We came here to tell Vale Inco and Roger Agnelli that we're not happy with what they're doing in our community.
This is the biggest company in our community. It feeds our community. There's 7 spin-off jobs for every single one of our jobs. We have over 3,000 employees, so that's over 20,000 jobs.
Say, what do we want? No, sir. Say, when do we want it? No. Say, what do we want? No, sir. Say, when do we want it? No. Say, what do we want? No, sir. Say, when do we want it? No. Say, what do we want? When do we want it?
We've got 100 years of mining in Sudbury, okay? And whenever there were economic times, when I got hired in '97, nickel prices dipped down to $1.65 or 67 a pound. Now they're at $9 a pound, and Vale is saying that they're not making money. Tony Clement, the Minister of Industry in Canada, he said was if it hadn't been for Vale buying Inco, which was a Canadian-owned corporation, Sudbury would have turned into the Valley of Death. Instead of calling it the Valley of Death, we changed it to the Valet of Death.
Power! I don't know what they were thinking when they gave Roger Agnelli a Good Citizenship Award.
As the CEO of our company, Roger Agnelli, is getting an award from the Committee of Corporate Understanding, if you can believe that.
Just posted their third quarter results, and Vale made $1.7 billion.
They made a lot of money, and we've made a lot of money for them.
This company, since they purchased Inco, between 2006 and 2008, made record profits. $4.5 billion in net profits, after-tax profits, in the Sudbury Basin. And OB and guys down here, Eric Delpart, and all the people that I work with, helped make those billions in profits.
And now, every 3 years, we get our contract expired. So now what they're trying to do is demand some concessions from us.
Concessions to your pensions, concessions to your wages, concessions to your nickel price bonus, concessions to your contract language, to your health and safety.
We have deep pride in our community, so we say hell no to any concessions because we're not going back another 20 years. heavy in Canada, in Brazil, in Indonesia, in New Caledonia, in 60 countries all over the world. The biggest part of these gains come here to the New York Stock Exchange, to the big investors, the big banksters. They are the ones that are getting all this money, and they are the same ones that created this huge economic crisis, whose effects, who are paying us workers.
One day longer! One day longer! One day longer!
Vale basically is the Grinch that stole our Christmas this winter. So it's going to be rough for everybody, but we're going to last one day longer than the evil corporation.
Not come back to the table once. We've asked them many times to come back to the table, and they have not come back.
Dignity and respect.
They refuse. They say they have nothing more to offer us. What they've offered us is all they have.
Local politicians said the community is beginning to suffer from the continuation of the strike, and City Council is discussing ways to bring the two parties together to resume negotiations.
We're calling on both sides to get back to the bargaining table because that's where this dispute is going to be resolved.
City Council voted 12-0 to request that the CEO of Vale Inco appear before them to explain his plans. The request was denied.
There is a process in place, and next Thursday there will be a second reading vote. If it goes past second reading, it will be then at the discretion of the House leaders as to how that legislation will proceed. That's
next week, okay. So I'm expecting next week you'll vote in favor of that second reading.
The problem with expecting that is that next Thursday I'll be out of the country, so that will be impossible to be.
There's no proxies?
No, there isn't any proxies. No. I think France is right behind you, and she will tell you that there's no proxies.
Why doesn't your government just change the legislation yourself? Why do you need a private member's bill?
So you know what, and that's a legitimate question. It's a question that I asked the Minister of Labour. Is there an intent on the part of our government to introduce replacement worker legislation? The answer is no.
Why is that?
Because that's obviously not on the agenda of the government at this point in time.
But it's on the agenda of your community, of your constituency.
There's absolutely no question about that. However, you're asking about what the government legislation is, what the government agenda is with regards to that, and at this point in time, it's not on the agenda to be introduced.
No, but I'm sure the MPG all talk about it, so you'll probably...
Well, you know, I got to be perfectly honest with you, Richard.
Yeah.
The MPPs don't all talk about what private members' bill happens. So, you know what? Private members' hour is about those members, those individual members, voting the way they see fit individually. Okay? Where I've established my position, and I'm going to maintain that position. And I think maintaining the position I've maintained is the best position. By maintaining the position I've maintained that position, and I will continue to maintain that position. Now, for some of you, that's not going to be a popular position, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I honestly believe it is the best position for me to take. I established this position. It is the position I will continue to establish because or maintain is because I think that's the position that will hopefully bring both sides back to the table. At the time, you know, I was the Minister of Northern Development and Mines. I've ever declined a meeting. I think I've established the position the day of the strike, the position that I thought was the best position for me to take to get both sides back to the table. I mean, I'm meeting with you this morning. I don't know, Richard, has there ever been a time when I've refused to meet?
Not to me.
Or you've opened your door to me numerous times.
Yeah, I think, Rick, the issue here is your silence.
Well, you know,
Rick, rather...
I've said what my position was in the past. I'm saying it now. I don't know what else do you want me to
Rick, what
you know, I've got to be perfectly honest. I've established a position that I've established.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain that position, rightfully or wrongfully, in your opinion, and I respect your opinions. There's absolutely no question, but rightly or wrongly, I'm going to maintain that position. Whether you respect that, whether you agree with it, or whether you disagree with it, you've asked me to take a position. I've taken that position.